Football season in the Bluegrass begins this week. If there is one person who loves college football, it is Christi Thomas. She is a former WKYTer and was the first female host of a network pregame radio show in the Southeastern Conference. From WKYT Podcast, this is Uniquely Kentucky. I'm your host, Amber Philpott. Christi Thomas is the host of the Countdown to Kickoff on UK radio for the football Wildcats. She grew up with a dad for a football coach and jokingly says that maybe in another life she was meant to be a boy and a linebacker. Christi Thomas, welcome to Uniquely Kentucky.
Good to be here. This is my first, my first go around with the podcast.
Your first podcast?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Awesome.
I believe it is. So yeah, I'll have to take your cues here a little bit.
I have been chasing you since last year. You are a busy gal. Not only do you have like a real full-time job, you also do all of this UK stuff. You are a wife and a mom. Gal, how do you keep it all up?
You know, it's great. It's I'll tell you, it's seasonal, so that's good. You know, you get to the point where you work through football season, you work through basketball season, and long about April, I'm ready for a break, and it hits at just the right time. So, once we get through some of the women's stuff that I cover with them, then yeah, it's kind of smooth sailing for the summer, and that's when I spend all my time at the softball or baseball field with my kids. So it works out just like it's supposed to at just the right time.
Last couple of years, you do have this great honor. I mean, you have been around sports your whole life, but to be able to be that first female, you are the host, and the boys kind of follow your lead.
Yeah.
What's that been like, and how long have you been doing that?
You know, it's awesome. It started back 5 seasons ago with Freddie Maggard, and the UK network came to the two of us and said, what if we decided to do something a little different with our pregame show? Would you all be up for this? And Freddie and I both were like, oh gosh, I don't know. We've never done radio. I felt sure I would be terrible at it. And we met for lunch, and right out of the gate, Freddie and I just clicked, and we hit it off. And that was when we knew, hey, this could work because we really like each other. We work very similarly. Freddie comes from a military background. We both love preparation. We both love planning. We both love those kinds of things. So this was going to work in that regard for us to really put our heads together and decide, what do people want to hear in a pregame show? So we had a great time doing it. And then Freddie took a job at UK as their player development. Great job for him and great role for him, which he has since left. But in the meantime, then we went looking for a couple of other former players. And it's a little difficult, Amber, because I'll tell you, when you do radio like this, you do kind of have to have another job. I mean, this is a fun job that we all do on the side, and we do it because we love it. So somebody that's around, somebody that is recognizable and, isn't doing this to get rich kind of thing. And that's a hard combination to figure out. And so we landed with Jarmon and Dusty Bonner, which was great because we could get both sides of the ball, get both perspectives. Fans love them, and they're great on the air, and they do their homework as well too. So for me, this will be my 6th season going into it, and this will be the third season that Jeremy and Dusty and I have all worked together.
Football is something that is ingrained in you. Your dad coached some high school, and then went on to Campbellsville when they started their program. So you literally have grown up always with football, right?
Always around football. And the most fun time that I can think about being around football was as I was probably starting in, like 5th or 6th grade, started being the water girl for the football team at Campbellsville College at the time. They started football in 1987, and football single-handedly kept that school from closing its doors. So really such an impactful thing that football was able to do for that community and that school. And so I was the water girl. It was awesome. I mean, it was the best. Being around these guys was amazing. I looked up to all of them like brothers. I was an only child, so these were the only brothers I had, and really just loved everything about football. I loved game day. I loved the preparation for game day. We're on a bus for hours traveling to the middle of nowhere to play teams, and but everything about it was great. And so being able to be the water girl and really, my dad was gone all the time. Listen, any coach's kid knows you don't see your dad during season. I mean, you just don't. It's a sacrifice that these coaches and their families make. So this was a good way for me to spend time with him and be around him and, get to really know what was such a big part of his life. And I loved every second of it. Did that all the way up through high school. So then when I graduated from college, kind of going into the sports arena was a no-brainer.
Talk to me about that. You're a former YMTer, as I am. You kind of got your start there and kind of worked your way up. And, you were somebody for me that I looked up to.
Amber, that's sweet.
It's true, sweetheart. It's true because our paths kind of across once I was at YMT and you had kind of moved on. But I think one of the things that I always appreciate about you is that consummate professional. You were always on your game. And I know how hard that is for a female, just in our business in general, but in sports. I mean, you really have to be on your P's and Q's to earn that respect. And you did that. So tell me how you did that.
Well, I said from the very beginning, I'm not naive enough to know that not all men want to hear women talk about sports. I mean, and that's okay. You've got to be okay with that if you're going to be in this business, and know that not everybody's going to like what you do or how you do it. And you have to be strong enough in what you're doing and confident enough in yourself to just not care. And so I think early on, my biggest goal, especially when I made the transition from YMT to KYT, because I was doing news there just to get a feel for the business, and I just needed a job. So when I made that transition to WKYT, I said my number one goal was to make sure that any male that turned on WKYT to watch sports didn't say, what is KYT thinking, putting this dumb blonde on? Who is this dumb blonde doing sports? She has no idea what she's talking about. You got to know the lingo. You got to be able to talk the talk, and you got to sound very natural. It can't sound forced. It has to sound genuine, like you really do know what you're talking about. And if you don't, then go figure it out before you get on the air and before you start talking. So that was my goal, and I hoped I think I accomplished that in a lot of ways. But I will tell you that the biggest thing for that is preparation. And I've said, you've got to, as a female, I am going to make sure that I'm putting in the time to really understand what it is I'm talking about, and make sure that, my job with our Countdown to Kickoff show is to set Jeremy up to talk and set Dusty up to talk. So we spend the entire week texting back and forth about what do we think are big points we should hit, what do we want to talk about. I'll throw things out to them, they'll throw things to me, and then that's how I set them up to talk. I'll tell you, people don't want to hear me talk about a cover 2 defense. They don't want to hear me talk about a spread offense. They want to hear somebody talk about it that's done it and that knows it. So if I can set them up to talk about it, and we can have some really good energy and really play off of each other in a good way, then hopefully it's a winning combination. But the biggest key for me has been homework and preparation to make sure that I'm always ready.
And it certainly paid off. How much of that goes into, so you're on the heels of the season, getting ready to start, and you do both home games and away games. You guys have the countdown show. So how much preparation in the week before goes into that couple of hours that you're on the radio?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it really can kind of be all week, honestly. I mean, we're literally texting all week long and kind of talking about it. And I'll spend easily, I'll sit down. I don't have the luxury of being able to go over to the press conferences on Mondays, but I'll sit down and rewatch those on Monday nights so that I can know what was said, and read everybody's articles that are written and see what's out there, look at depth charts, do all that, injury reports, those kind of things. And then, so it kind of is an ongoing thing all week where, you're paying attention to Twitter and seeing what's out there. And then, really, I'll spend a good bit of time on Friday night making sure that I've really got it all nailed down and what we're going to do. We'll have special guests that come on. And so all of the honorary captains this year that we honor for UK will come up and talk to us. So we got some great guests lined up, which will be awesome. So, want to know a little something about them, just like you prepare for this. When you're going to have a guest on, you want to know a little something about them and be able to make them feel comfortable. And I spend a good bit of time all week long, but mainly Friday night, I'll spend several hours just making sure I'm nailing it all down for Saturday.
How much preparation goes into the wing eating? Because I feel like the fellas are always eating wings on the radio show.
They are chow hounds. I've never seen anything. Listen, so there's all of a sudden now all this talk about wings, free wings, and how are we going to get free wings? We're discussing, we had been at Kroger doing our away games for the past 2 seasons. We're moving away from that a little bit and going to go someplace a little bit different. It's a little bit, we love Kroger. Don't get me wrong. We think Kroger is amazing. Love everything they do. They have an amazing tailgate for home games. Us in the produce section at Kroger doing away games is not necessarily ideal. So we're talking about where to be, and some things that should be a little bit different for this year. But that's the one thing that Jarmon said. Well, will the wings come with us? I mean, like, how do we not have? I've never seen anything like people eat. There's 50 wings sitting in front of us, and in the blink of an eye, they're gone. And I'm like, I'm the only one over here trying to actually do some radio. Well, you guys are eating up to their just crap all over their face. I mean, they don't care.
Dead air, you talking, dead air on their part, just eating wings.
And they don't care.
Let's talk about the upcoming season. I know you're a fan, and you always have been, and I know that, you kind of have to separate being a fan, but I know you also get just as excited as the rest of us about it. And we're coming off of an amazing season with these guys. I know there's a lot of pressure. We never get the love from the national folks, but how excited are you for what we might see on the field this year?
I am ecstatic. I mean, I think this is one of those seasons that really tells the story about what Mark Stoops has been able to do over the last 6 seasons from the recruiting side of things. He really came in early on with the deck stacked against him and so much work to do and needed the time to be able to do it. And I think this is where you're going to start to see all of that pay off, where you're bringing in all these recruits. And we all talk about it as you've been a fan and watched the Alabamas and the Clemsons of the world just keep reloading year after year. It's next man up. And I think that Kentucky football is now at a place where we can expect that. We can expect it to be next man up. Do you replace a Josh Allen with one guy on the outside? Absolutely not. But you've got guys that can get some things done, and people are going to be really, really happy with what they see out of players like Chris Oates and Boogie Watson and guys that are really, Josh Paschal is back and healthy and ready to go. So you're going to be really happy with what you see out of guys like that. So that's what you're recruiting for. That's what you're after is, you don't have the best season in 41 years and then wait another 20 years to have that same kind of season. You do it again. And maybe it's not another 10-win season, but it's definitely not a 6-win season. It's definitely not a 6 out of 7 in the SEC East. The whole idea that Kentucky is not even ranked in the AP Top 25, much less receiving votes, is a huge slap in the face when the team that you just beat in the Citrus Bowl is sitting there ranked 15th. I mean, come on. So, yeah, and this is a team, too, that I think is okay with sort of having that chip on their shoulder and saying, all right, we got something to prove, and they're okay with it. Not everybody's okay with that, So these guys have said, yep, we've got something to prove. We're going to continue to do it, and we're not backing down from that. So a team playing with a chip on their shoulder, watch out. They're dangerous.
You get to spend a lot of time with the team and kind of interview different guys and be around them. Is there somebody that really sticks out to you that's like, that's the guy, like that's my guy?
Let me tell you something. So Media Day was a couple of weeks ago, and I walked around just asking guys questions, non-football questions, anything that, just about them and their personalities and things they like. And that was the most fun. We had a ball doing that. And these guys are clowns. I'm trying to tell you that great personalities, want to have a good time. Keep your eye on the entire defensive line for this Kentucky team, because not only are they're big, strong SEC level defensive linemen, they're hilarious. And they are, I said, these are guys you want, like, come on over and hang out at my house. Let's hang out on the back porch. Let's be friends, So they're amazing. They cook, they talk about all the food they make, and they're getting pictures out and comparing dishes and who's the best cook. They're wild. And so I love that piece of it, because I love being able to see there's more to these guys than what you see on the field every Saturday. They really are 19, 20, 21-year-old kids who are just trying to find their way and figure things out in life. And, they love their moms. I found that, they all wanted to talk about their moms and how impactful they'd been in their lives. And so, but keep it, this defensive line, man, I'm telling you, they're fiery, they're fun. And I think that as you start to see them play, that's going to show on the field. You're going to start to see them gel and really come together. They really like each other.
It's always so great, too, when we have the Kentucky guys that, especially the 606 guys.
Yep.
And you can root for them, and you kind of see a little bit of that personality come out as well. And then I think just, generally we just all kind of gravitate towards those guys that are the local kids, if you will.
Oh, Cash Daniel. Who doesn't love Cash Daniel? And I said, it's not because he is, that he's real edgy. And so a lot of times guys who are edgy like that, people kind of keep it an arm's length, and nobody wants to do that with Cash. Everybody wants in on that. Everybody wants to be a part of that edge, and everybody wants to be a part of that sass that he's got, which I love. So I think that, and really what you see is what you get with him. And I think people know that. He's a blue collar kind of guy, just like his coaches, and he works hard, and he's worked incredibly hard to get where he is. So yeah, there's what's not to love about a guy like, he's not going to be that guy that's making you feel warm and fuzzy, but that's okay. Nobody wants that out of him, because no one's expected that from him. So love what he's bringing to the table just from a leadership perspective with this team. They're all taking on that kind of persona, and Cash plays with a chip, and it's proved to to be beneficial for him for the last 3 years. So look for more of that from him. But yeah, it's what's not to love about a guy from Kentucky that's just no holds barred.
None at all. Christi, you have covered sports for a long time, and this is kind of like a loaded question, but as you think back of football seasons and, you know, your time in sports, do you have a moment that really sticks out to you that is like the best sports moment that you've gotten to be a part of or cover?
It's a great question, Amber. Gosh, that's a really, really good question. I think some of it lies with just some interviews of people that I've gotten to interview over the years that you've been like, wow, the only way you're ever that close to them is through a job like this. But I'll be honest with you and tell you, just without having to sit here and really mill it over and think about it, I could come up with probably several. But last year's Citrus Bowl win, I'll tell you, I was incredibly emotional about that, which I think as a mom, and the older I get, the more hormonal I get, it's a problem. I cry over everything. But last year, you had Benny Snell breaking the rushing record, and then there was this moment of, oh my gosh, can they hang on and can they win? And when the last play happened and Kentucky's, gonna win this thing, I get cold chills now even talking about it. I did. I teared up. I got emotional, and I thought, yeah, this is what this is all about. I mean, this is what being a Kentucky fan is all about, that we're here. This is what you've been paying that money for all these years for those tickets. So I thought that was a pretty special moment. And the idea that I could be there in a great environment with an awesome team, an awesome group of guys, working with a great group of people with the UK Sports Network, everything was kind of perfect about that, which was really cool.
I think sometimes people think in the jobs that we do get to do these really cool, great things, but I think that they take for granted that we sometimes really stop in the moment and realize, or at least I do, that, holy smokes, I get to be a part of this. Yeah. This was history in the making, and you know that you would never get this chance any other way.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about, the basketball games that you've seen sitting courtside, you think about, I in the Citrus Bowl, I bounced around all over the place, like I got different vantage points the whole time, where I was in the end zone for, a quarter, and then I was on the sideline for a quarter. I was up in the press box for a quarter. I was out in one of the breezeways for a while. I mean, I was all over the place and loved every second of it. But, it's one of those things where you felt like Kentucky football was turning the corner of, we've suffered so much disappointment, and things always seem to end with us being on the losing end of something. So for that to work out the way that it did, I'll tell you what was the most fun about that too, was we went into the locker room afterward. And so they were, doing post-game radio and all these things were going on, but just the absolute joy that was happening in that locker room was so fun to see. Just these guys running around like little 10-year-old boys, just, screaming and high fives and hugs. And, here I was standing in the hallway right next to the Citrus Bowl trophy, which is incredibly heavy, by the way. And these guys just walking by, and they'll bear hug you, just sweaty, nasty, disgusting, bear hugging you like, oh yeah, so it just was, everything about that was such a fun experience to be a part of.
Funniest, most embarrassing moments on air?
Oh, man.
Because I have 100.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so one that comes to mind is, as we're talking about UK football, back in the day, I did a show on WKYT called Sports Spectrum, and it was a Saturday night show, kind of like Sports Center. We did, anything going on around, this area, we had it on our show. And there used to be a running back for Kentucky named Arliss Beach, and I called him something else on the air. And, this was, thank goodness, it was in a tease on the way into a commercial, and yeah, I called him another B word, Arliss, another B word, and then I started laughing, and then I could hardly even get out of it. Well, so then I'm more, after you go into the commercial, you're mortified, thinking, am I going to get in trouble for that? I didn't mean to say it.
Or am I going to say it again because now it's on my brain?
Yeah. So that by far is probably the worst thing I've ever said on the air, unintentionally, obviously, the worst thing I've ever said on the air. But just freaking out. And then, of course, I'm laughing about it. The rest of the show can hardly get through the thing, and decided I was just going to call him Arliss for the rest of the season, which is not what you do in sports highlights when you read them. So, he became Arliss from there on out.
Brian Milam will tell the story on you on how you got sick on the set and had to run off the set. He likes to tell that story because I did the same thing to him at WYMT. So he likes to tell that story on both of us.
Really?
So
you got a double dose of that? No kidding.
Dose, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, but there are better you don't want to see that on the air.
No.
I mean, there are some things you know what your limitations are. and you don't want to show the people that. So that happened. There are any number of things that I can sort of go through, but yeah, when you say a curse word on the air when you didn't mean to, that's right up there.
Yeah. We all have them. As we're getting ready to go into the football season, and so people are listening to you guys on the pregame, is there a place that they can find you guys if they want to send in like questions or they want to send in something to you guys?
Yeah, for sure. So Dusty, Jeremy, and myself, we're all on Twitter, so you can follow us. You can follow me at Christi UK Sports, and love to hear from you. The UK Network also has a Twitter page. We'd love to hear from you there. There's lots of ways to be able to follow us and hear us anywhere in the state of Kentucky where you hear a UK football game. You can hear our pregame show, but we also carry it live on Facebook. So UK Football Facebook page will have us live. We love to hear from people on Facebook. And then, if you've got a question, you just want to say, hey, we love hearing where people are listening to us. It's shocking when you know that somebody's hollering at you from Washington State or Hawaii or, wherever. They're all over the place. So we love hearing about that. And then we're on ukathletics.com. You can hear us and see us there as well, too. Can't see us for away games. So when they're on the road, we're on the radio only and just audio only online. But love it. So we love interacting with fans, and the guys are great about answering questions. We love to give you a shout out on the air and answer your question and interact with you. And then if you're at a home game, come to Gate 1 where the catwalk is. We are set up kind of perched high atop that right in front of Nutter, and have us a little set there, and love hearing and seeing fans up there too. We love to take pictures with you and talk to you and chat with you and stuff. So we'd love to see you there.
Good deal. Well, I know you're a busy gal and you got to get out of here probably to go study a depth chart or something. I don't know. But we did call this podcast Uniquely Kentucky. So I always like to get someone's perspective on what makes us so unique here.
Oh,
so
man.
For you, it could be anything. I mean, you're a Kentucky gal or, sports related, whatever.
I think what there's so many things obviously that make us uniquely Kentucky, but I think that as I am involved in football, I've yet to hear fans from an opponent come into town and say that they didn't enjoy themselves and that they didn't love the environment. They didn't love especially if they come in October and they can get kind of a little bit of a trifecta where they can go to Keeneland and enjoy that and then come here. But everyone says we're very hospitable, and that doesn't always happen when you go on the road. We're obviously competitive, but we seem to be very welcoming to opposing fans, and I love that about us. I mean, I want to win as much as the next guy, but the idea that we can really welcome people to our state and to Kroger Field and to Lexington and want them to see it and really experience it and enjoy it, I think is something that may be pretty unique for us, that we we'll invite people back. Hey, come on back, come on over to our tailgate, have some food, and we even talk about it on the air, on the radio when opponents come by. We'll give them a shout out that they were there. And so I think that makes us very unique, that it's a welcoming environment for an opponent to come on in and be a part of it and really experience what we have to offer.
Well, football season is right around the corner. Make sure that you check
here.
out Christi Thomas and her crew. They'll be there, home games, away games, talking about everything. Christi, thank you.
Thanks for having me.